I've always had a vision of my future, a very peculiar and specific one. I've always wanted to live in a beautiful place, like a forest beside a river or lake, semi away from society, where I'm surrounded by the remains of the ambient North American wildlife. Nostalgia, silence, peace, all basic words that I associate this goal that I want to live. But I have also always accepted that my goal can only be achieved through hard work, and I felt as if nothing in my world was given to me. I've had to earn it all, or that's what I've loved to believe. Well, it's kind of a lie I've lived, because I've had plentiful Christmases and bountiful birthdays. My mom and immediate family have always been by my side for me, and I wouldn't be surprised if they had helped write this letter with me if I had asked and told them about my ambitions. By definition, they always have been helpful, giving me the type of individual life that I want to grow into, a smart, talented, polite, and silly person. Sometimes I can be ignorant or aggressive to what I have and towards the people around me. I'm still trying to forgive myself to this day, to improve, to honor myself, to look and open up and fix my attitude, to live more, to think less, to get my future under control and together. But I notice that, try as I might, I only selectively choose to improve. I'm left stumped, kind of like the trees I want to be surrounded by. They say a tree's rings indicate its acquired age, every ring representing a year. So wise and humble, so much knowledge to their name. I'm trying to gain more knowledge myself, amidst an age of mass media. A thing in myself that I can only control. A thing in myself that I also have to work hard for. I've been going through some things. I'm always trying to learn something new. It can get overwhelming at times, I admit, and I'm not going to lie. At one point, I was trying to reach godhood, megalomania. I wanted to know everything. I wanted those to know who I was. I believe that those who are seen as smart are those who warrant immediate respect, though nobody, no human could truly know everything. A thing I've realized too, slowly after leaving my teen years, was that whoever knows everything would have nobody to tell it to, nobody to talk to, no fun, no interest or investment, no relationship. Those who are never wrong clearly haven't explored much of the world around them. A cell internally stuck in their head. One may be smarter than the other in a said topic or specific subject, but they surely won't be very smart to another subject that someone else is more well versed in. And they say some of the happiest people in the world are those who are the dumbest by this factor and by this logic. Those who are smart, truly smart, would know this themselves. Knowledge seems to be something associated with the quantity of a person's intelligence with topics in this modern era. But so few look into different perspectives and the riches, the mental riches of said specific intellect and facts. Maybe knowledge is best used and only really cared about or seen in such high regard if one cares about it, if others care about it. But I'm left stumped, kind of like the trees I want to be surrounded by. Some of these trees have more sap on them than others. Some are weirdly shaped, some have odd trunks or broken trunks, and some have a family inside of these trunks. Ants, squirrels, birds, and these creatures are probably very cozy and appreciate the life that they have to reside within this tree. I wish to find a place too. And maybe knowledge is best used if other people care. And maybe that's a self-reflection of how much I care about my own image. Always stepping on eggshells to satisfy and make sure that I say the correct thing for the moment. All because I want to be seen as good and not feel wrong. And I want to be able to know that people appreciate me, not see me as wrong, or I'm uncontrollable, shameful, angering. And these words are associated with my feelings of being wrong. I come from an idea that I have developed in my mind where I worry that everyone will keep said mistake that I make in life, a fact, in mind, and minuscule shit that I do, and weaponize it against me. I might apply that to how they look at me, regardless of close friends, family, or random strangers. It's a big stress that it needs relieving, mellowing, and the only thing a person will benefit for it is if I get over it, if there is a punchline. I should also stop fixating or remembering every little mini incident that happened, right or wrong, because that just ends up distracting me from what is really supposedly what I have to focus on. Distracting me from improving on stuff, improving on the situation, distracting me from other projects. And of course, I'm left stumped, just like the trees I want to be surrounded by. Figuratively speaking, I've had writer's block for a while now. I've been going through some things. Frustrating and relentlessly spiraling as I'm preventing my own way of thinking, my own video projects, fading. My coverage and drive to create leaving, and my YouTube content and viewer base leaving my presence. I can't act if any of that is not my own fault, though. Slacking off when I could have perfectly sat down and made a new piece of content. And unfortunately, I've treated my own further creative endeavors more like a job where I don't get anything. I don't get paid. It's draining to me. It takes. Draining is actually an understatement. Trying to achieve so much for so little, stressing my brain out, abandoning my family and friends. It almost scares me to edit and make films sometimes because I worry that I'm going to be left alone and leaving everyone behind because I have a goal or a real dream in mind. It's kind of ironic. It's fear that is ironic, a fear I must overcome. Everyone in my close family and friends 100% believe in me, and if I were to never want to disappoint them, I have to keep pushing forward. I want to have a desire to create. It's conflicting, sitting as a 23, 24-year-old as I'm writing this, and writing and reading it, and recording it, and I haven't achieved anything of substance in my life. And I sit and see others all being hailed as prodigies at ages 16 or under. I've also always had to see my family and friends not bat an eye to any of the stuff that I have made, not even the current videos or my past experiences or projects. Personally, I thought it's because there's a weird feeling that gets to someone when watching content associated with me or by a close friend. Either that or my content's not great. I'm not scared to admit if my content's bad. Either way, it's just not their thing. And all this thought, once again, distracting me from opening my mind and seeing all the creativity and ambition that I could form in my own future. I had made a whole list to myself, handwritten, of my future plans, video-wise, most of which have never came into fruition and probably won't ever. And I just have no clue why I haven't looked into them. Maybe it's because I've evolved and or I'm growing up past these projects or topics or ideas. My channel blew up after meme comps and amiibo videos, after all, Nintendo stuff. I've regretted associating myself with any of these topics. I thought I was hot shit in college too, to my buddies that were all interested in this stuff. And I had this fast-paced work ethic that nearly flunked me, as I would put out non-stop ideas and videos trying to make something timeless. It was the wrong kind of distraction. But I still yearn. I still want to be able to feel and live again that creative drive, where I had ambitions, power, ideas. But all of that, and I've matured and developed a healthier work ethic in myself. I need a spark, an ideal spark, a relight, a reckoning, a hunger. And that's why I'm stumped. Because I don't know why I don't have this. I just don't know what to do. I've tried to reflect, but I'm left stumped. Stumps that don't move are stumps that stay. Stumps in general don't move easy, and they can't be removed neatly. The trunk has already left, so any ideas that I had in spirit held inside this trunk are dead, and are now fallen over and being consumed by the decomposition of nature. You can yank on the stump, but only create collateral damage, forcing yourself to work harder, and leaving this stump, removing it like that, leaves a hole in the structure. The roots gone, my creativity drowning from me as I focus on trying to remove the stump and thus removing the roots. Just getting the job done instead of finding alternatives. The goal was to have my ideas grow like all the other trees around me. I wanted a goal. I wanted an idea. I had faith in these ideas. I wanted a life, a path, a clean one with no stumps. So removing the foundation of all my ideas was evidently not a good one. Something that stuck with me, just like the stumps in the ground. The only ideas that sparked in my head were ones that tried to get rid of burning this forest, the stump, getting rid of it. Only to realize that I have burned down my own forest, my past, my thoughts, my ecosystem. These ideas have been ravaged. They're gone. The mind collapsing, burning, and creating nothing but black. And in the midst of all of it, I slumped down and sat on the trunk, waning and slouched and making myself comfortable as I accepted what I've done. Then I stood up. Then a sapling fell in my hand. And this is where part 2 begins. A movie titled Waking Life had a scene in it that resonated with my struggles. YouTube has it titled Boat Scene, if it's still up. And the setup is very silly. A car that's also a boat, looking like the same stuff out of a corny late 2000s art school project. But that's besides the point. The silly boatman said, the idea is to remain in a constant state of departure while always arriving, which to me makes me learn that the way of life, its flow, its dealings, its karma, its breath, is something I have to stick with and trust. And now analyze the process. Look at the stump. Don't try to remove it. because I'll remain stumped. Because by trying to remove a part of me that's immovable, the rings of the trunk, bearing resemblance to my exposure and acquired skills, it's what I'm intelligent at. The roots of the stump being the foundation of who I was and who I am. This script of mine was something that I hadn't cared about until 3 months beginning, and I felt uncomfortable and exhausted with nihilism to write any further. I've tried so hard to avoid this stump that I have instead forgot to see the potential that it held, all of which where I had to step back, look at the seed in my hand, count the rings, and make do. A stump on a tree is only meaningless to those who choose to sit on it for the rest of their lives. You can try and learn everything in the world, but you won't be able to, because the fastest learner of them all is time itself. Time is smarter than all. That being said, you can learn a thing or two from time. You can cooperate. After all, time is what allowed the trees of my mind to grow. Time is what allowed me to grow. It allowed me to change my perspective of life and reevaluate and plant that seed. The ecosystem that I learned alongside of time, whether I noticed it or not, it's the easiest essence to learn from, time itself. I learned that over time I could appreciate the people around me, the people that I'm related to, the people that I love. It taught me to go with the flow, and all that I need to do is learn alongside of it. As when learning anything, you can only learn by listening and making the most out of the wisdom given. And time gives all of us a privilege to achieve these feats. It gives all of us time to grow. I've grown myself. I've grown new facial hair. I've grown out longer hair. I've grown to become a healthier person both physically and mentally. So yes, I am left stumped. I'm left with a stump. Kind of like the trees I want to be surrounded by, the thing that I need to work towards. The inhabitants, the content of the roots. Why try to be like every other tree when I can stand tall on my stump, elevating myself to touch the leaves of the other trees around me to benefit within to my own liking? That's why the rings of the stumps are so important, because it shares what you have learned simply by learning through the passage of the time. That's why the roots of the stump are so important, because they're the foundation to all of the stump that you've had created by planting it in there. Removing it just means you're removing your own sense of self. And removing it doesn't leave me stumped. It leaves me empty. Being stumped means you still have a shrapnel of hope left. Something you can sit on for a moment or two, but don't sit on it forever. One can do whatever they want with their tree stump. You can sit on it. You can move forward. You can even grow the next generation around it. Or you can try and remove it. The only way to build my future and not remain in this position is to look at the stump, learn from it itself, the base, the foundation, the proof of the work, understanding your own frustrations and confusion, and how it can only be fulfilled simply by looking at your stump, with the rings, the roots, and the other bark. It's what one does with the remains of your past reflection, what pains the basis of the next step that you have, and the next step that you grow into, where you become the tree of your future. So, I am left stumped right now, but that's okay. Thank you.